Welcome to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Mile and a half in the desert just north of Glitter Gulch. Take a look at the Advanced Auto Parts weather here. Temperatures today expected to be in the mid-70s. Right now, 63 degrees, winds out of the north, sunny and windy. Let's take a look at the Advanced Auto Parts menu. Sprint Cup practice, nationwide final practice, and Sprint Cup qualifying. Keep the wheels turning. That's the schedule here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Practice just underway for the NASCAR Nationwide Series teams. Under sunny skies, beautiful weather. Hi, everybody. Steve Burns with Hermie Sadler and Jeff Hammond. The Nationwide Series teams have been racing here since 1997. And Hermie, 4 of the last 5 races, the margin of victory has been half a second or less.
This is a great racetrack for the Nationwide Series. I was fortunate enough to be in that first race in 1997. The first race west of the Mississippi, got a top 10 finish, but it's amazing, Jeff, in those years since 1997, how much NASCAR has kind of taken over this city. And as Steve alluded to, a lot of great finishes at this racetrack.
A lot of great finishes. And you talk about the city itself. Big parade yesterday morning, bringing all the big transporters down Las Vegas Boulevard to let everybody know NASCAR is officially in town. So it's great to come here to Las Vegas. But Steve, today when we start this first practice session for a lot of these teams, some of these cars were brought straight over from California and ready to go. And it looks like right now one of the things that we're going to be looking for is exactly what happens here as far as tires. But we've already got trouble on the racetrack. The 5 car, and that's Dale Earnhardt Jr. right there in the GoDaddy number 5. That's not the way he wants to start off, because that's the way he ended over in California and the number 88 in the Sprint Cup race the other day. This is not exactly what I'm sure anybody back at Hendrick Motorsports wants to see happen right now. Maybe it's just an oil line, guys, that's been left loose, and they can get it repaired real quick. But I know, Steve, for a lot of these teams, they were wanting to get out on this racetrack to figure out this tire situation. In years past,
coming out the back, I can't really tell, but you'll turn in the same place where you came out here, bud.
Spotter telling him how to get back down that pit road and get him back to the garage area. But I know some of the teams were looking at trying to scuff tires, because in the past they liked to scuff tires here, let them sit a little bit, and they seemed like they were quicker. So it was one of the things that a lot of the teams want to do early on.
Another look on board. Out the rear bumper of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s number 5 car. Let's listen.
Didn't you hear Tone changing the engine?
No.
Clear low.
It doesn't sound like the engine let go, Jeff.
You got some smoke. Inside.
Yeah, just listening right there. Dale Jr. did not act like he, had any kind of issues with the car, with the exception that they do have smoke. Again, some of these cars, like I say, come directly from California, or refurbished and ready to be made, ready to go here at Las Vegas. So, it could be very easily that somebody did not get an oil line tight, or something did break on the car as far as an oil line that's making it smoke.
You notice what he did too, Steve. As soon as they said you got smoke out of the back, when he knew he was clear, he shut the engine right off then. And but before he shut it off, not a significant change in the tone or the pitch of the engine, so it didn't seem like he dropped a valve or anything before the smoke came. So hopefully it's something minor they can correct to get back on this racetrack. But we want to make sure we remind the fans that this is basically a new racetrack. Jeff talked about scuffing tires. 20 degrees of progressive banking, Jeff Hammond, a lot more speed than it used to be.
A lot more speed. The guys really enjoy racing here. I think they've promoted a lot more side-by-side racing. You've already talked about the margin of victory, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons that a lot of the racetracks we're going to now that have gone to this progressive banking, which means you can run the top or you can run the bottom, wherever your car works the best. I really believe that we have a much tighter opportunity, or much better opportunity for have a close finish. And again, that kind of been proven out. We see Dale Jr. right now climbing out of that number 5 car, and I'm sure that he's going to be real interested in trying to figure out what exactly did happen.
Well, we see Matt down there looking at the number 5 car. Matt has an update. We'll check in with him in the garage. Also, Dick Bergman down there will join him in just a few minutes as well. So caution out after just 1 lap here in this NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. And Dale Jr. taking the helmet off. And the team taking a look under the hood of that Chevrolet. I think Matt has the latest. Matt?
Steve, Scott Maxson from the Hendrick Motorsports engine department. He's under the hood looking. A lot of oil is already laying on the concrete underneath the race car, looking to where it came what line they're underneath the car as well. But definitely a lot of oil underneath this number 5 machine early on here in this practice session.
This is Scott Maxim right there, one of the head engine builders for Hendrick Motorsports, trying to diagnose the problem there, Jeff.
And one of the things, guys, when we talk about this here, these engines had to be pumped. What that means is each time you bring a car to the racetrack, NASCAR goes through a procedure of making sure that you have the right cubic inches. So you got to take the valve covers loose. You take rocker arms loose. So they may be just something as simple as a valve cover oil line that has not been tightened back right, or that they've cracked something. So it may be, you know, again, when we talked about it, very simple repair here. Once they diagnose where the problem is, clean it up, they'll make the repairs and get him back out on the racetrack.
Caution after just one lap here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Mile and a half with progressive banking. We'll be right back. Glad you're with us here on Speed. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Nationwide Series practice from Las Vegas is brought to you by Nationwide Insurance, the official auto insurance provider of NASCAR. And back at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, we are sweeping up. Dale Earnhardt Jr. dropping fluid. You heard Matt Yoakum refer to it as a lot of oil in the garage area. So track officials doing their best to sweep up. And you see, boys, you see a trail that he brought into the garage with him.
I think he's got any more oil left in that engine. Do you think,
so.
Hermie?
Oh, my Lord. He's oil down the racetrack and all the way back to his garage stall. So that's another concern you would have. He did shut it off pretty quick, but if that engine, as you well know, Hammond, if it goes with that oil for any time, you scuff a bearing and do something like that, it can cause you some more problems.
Well, we'll know that here pretty quickly. I'm pretty sure they'll figure that out if they got to change that power plant or not.
Let's go back to the garage and join the editor of Speedway Illustrated magazine, Dick Bergeron.
Well, thank you, Steve. I'm in Jeff Burton's garage stall because this is where the good stuff is happening. Burton has won 3 times here in nationwide competition at Vegas. That's more than any other driver who will start in tomorrow's race. He has also led more laps than anybody who will start in tomorrow's race. And the car is a veteran too. It's an older car that has been updated for 2009. But the real story here is the crew chief, Dan Deringhoff. Last week he missed the race. He was home with his wife Sandy, who delivered their very first baby, Addison Lynn. But Deringhoff said it was just awful. It about killed him sitting home watching the race on television instead of being here. He was so miserable, so uncomfortable, his wife said, "You will go to Las Vegas and be with that race car." So Deringhoff is here with a smile on his face because he has a 9/16 wrench in his hand and not a dirty diaper.
All right. Well, congratulations to Dan Deringhoff.
All I want to know is, Steve, are you going to be giving Dan lessons on how to change a diaper?
I can. I most certainly can. Well, Matt has an update on Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Steve, the cleanup continues down in the 5 garage. Now, I just spoke with Scott Maxim, and their diagnosis is they were showing Dale Earnhardt Jr. the cooling fan. 2 of the blades broke off, which then got into the oil cooler. The good news is just a lot of oil spread all over everywhere in the engine compartment. Didn't lose oil pressure. They're not going to have to make an engine change, so that's the good news there. The bad news, just a lot of cleanup taking place here in the 5.
Well, that's like I say, that's the good and the bad of it. He's going to lose some valuable practice time, but they will be able to make repairs. And people just don't understand, Henry, when you cut an oil line like that and the fan blades working at the same time, it blows oil everywhere.
And that's kind of a freakish accident. I mean, you don't hear about that a whole lot, that fan blade cutting an oil line, but better it happens now than happens in the race, I guess. But a big cleanup, and you put that oil on this racetrack along with the speedy dry, it's a pretty long process because he was at full speed when he had that problem, so it took him a while to get down on the apron. So going to be a little bit of a cleanup here.
And then it'll be a situation of who wants to go first and try it out.
Let's go back to Dick Bergeron.
And I'm with Carl Edwards, who's had a great start to 2008. Let's see, we've got a second at Daytona, a 4th in California out of the pole. That's pretty darn good, but let's get to the really important stuff. You're a newlywed. How's it going?
It's going great. Troy Couples was just giving me some marriage advice. And
What kind of advice did he give you?
it was real personal. Probably shouldn't share it on here.
All right.
It was real funny, actually, but we're having fun, man. We got a pretty good race car. You know, there's a lot of oil out there, so we're just gonna kind of wait, let it get worked in a little bit or something. But this Save-A-Lot Fusion seems pretty fast. And last year here, we had that dramatic finish, which I'd be fine with being dramatic again, but I'd rather come out on the winning end of it. But this race here is a lot of fun. I'm excited about getting to race it.
I want to give you the advice my father gave me. He said you give in to your wife 75% of the time and everything will be fine. What I didn't know was that he went to her and told her to give in to me 75% of the time. We've been married 45 years. I wish you the best.
Hey, thanks a lot, Dick.
75%, that sounds low.
Yeah. very low for the Sadler household.
It's low in my
that.
house.
Yeah.
Notice Hammond didn't say anything.
You boys are basically opening a can of worms that don't need to be opened.
All right, under caution here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Dale Jr.'s team hard at work, as is everybody in the garage. Stay with us here on Speed. The caution came out just one lap into this first NASCAR Nationwide Series practice of the morning. It's scheduled for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Dale Earnhardt Jr. dropping oil in the garage. You see RC Richard Childress making a lap around. So we're still under caution as they work to clean up that oil.
You know, this is valuable practice time also. I mean, normally some of these guys get to come in here and test and whatever, but not a lot of time on the racetrack. And for a lot of these guys, Steve, first time on this newly designed racetrack.
Everybody kind of hanging out in the garage right now. Mike Harmon in the 84.
Yeah, Mike was third in line to get on the racetrack, but only got one lap in, so he wasn't able to get on it like he wanted to as far as getting a good lap in.
We said the first Nationwide Series race here in 1997. Jeff Green won that race, and he is on the entry list. Let's go back to Dick Berger.
And I'm with Las Vegas native Brendan Gaughan. You've got a lot of experience here in truck racing and also experience in the Cup Series. How different are these cars from what you're used to?
Nah, these cars are just like our old Winston West cars. I mean, that we ran at the old Vegas track, but I like cars. I'm used to these deals. I feel comfortable in them. This new Goodyear tire, we don't know a lot about. And from the first lap, I gave kind of an easy lap. Threw down a time that I went, holy cow, it feels great. So I think we're going to go try hard as soon as they open this track back up.
You still living in town?
Well, I always call Vegas home. I live back in North Carolina because it's only right to live with the team. I'm not Tony Stewart's level yet. He can live wherever he wants. But Vegas will always be home.
All right, we wish you well this weekend. Matty?
Dick catching up with David Reagan here in the 6 car. This racetrack last year, newly paved. For you, without the test in the West in January, good opportunity to see how much this pavement's changed in a year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, just running a race here last year, it gives all the drivers just a good chance to get back in the car and make a few laps and see how, how things have changed. Are the bumps worse or are they any better? And just get back in the rhythm of things at a track that, we really haven't spent a lot of time at. We don't have 2 dates at, so any bit of practice is a good one, I guess, even if it's got some oil down on the track.
And for you, the countdown has begun of going back to your home track in Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta's always a fun weekend. I wish that I could round up some funds to go drive a truck next week. That would be fun. But yeah, the Cup race, and Atlanta's a great racetrack. We can certainly all talk about how good that track is aged and are able to slip and slide. So it's it's always a fun stretch here, and hopefully we can get a good run in here and head to Atlanta, with some security in both series.
Now, this is Vegas. We do have an opportunity to make some money. How much would you need for us to get you a truck ride for next week?
I don't know. We could probably talk Jack into giving us a good deal on an engine. Maybe 10 grand, maybe 50. If I can win the Cup race here on Sunday in our UPS Ford, that might help the cause, and we might get a chance to pull one of those F-150s out and go race.
David Reagan, Operation Truck Race in Atlanta has now commenced.
Yes, it has, Matt. By the way, I mentioned that Jeff Green was on the entry list, the first winner here at Las Vegas. He was on the preliminary entry list, but as of today is not on the revised entry list. And we take a look at Kyle Busch in the 18.
Yeah, you see Kyle Busch and Jeff Hammond, David Reagan. It's always fun to go back home and race in front of your family and friends. He wants to run that truck race because it's also a lot of fun to race when you don't have the pressure of points and all that stuff going on. He's under a lot of pressure in that Cup car, but he thinks that truck race will be a lot of fun, not to mention how fun, how good the racing is for the trucks at that track.
Well, Jeff, how dominant was Kyle Busch at California last week?
Let's see, he only didn't lead, what, 7 laps?
A handful.
Of that race. 143 laps, I believe, is what he led last week. And I've seen guys hooked up before at different racetracks, but this young man here last week, he wore them out and broke the Truck Series as well as the Nationwide Series on the same day. I think that's what was impressive. Almost 6 hours inside of a race car. You know, we always talk about the 600-miler at Charlotte, how long it is, but that is a long, long day to sit inside a race car on top of the practice sessions and everything that he did. But he just showed, again, that he is just a rare talent, and I'm sure he wants to pick up right here where he left off in his hometown of Las Vegas. And boys, just like this right here, when he gets through making a lap, he's going to give you a pretty good idea what you're going to have to do to beat him.
We've talked a lot about all the 3 or 4 different drivers getting in those Joe Gibbs Nationwide cars. What do you think makes those cars so good? A lot of the Childresses and those guys have the same kind of resources. What makes those cars so good?
I think it's a combination of everything. Great crew chiefs, great drivers, great engineers. I mean, they put the total package together, got a great engine program. But the thing is right now, if you'll take a quick look right there, the last 5 winners here, you'll figure out real quick that there are a lot of really great talent right there with Mark Martin winning this race. Last year we saw Jeff Burton. He's won here twice. So, again, this is one of those racetracks a lot of people just love to come to.
And you can
right
talk
here about the separate, the
margin of victory.
Margin
right
of victory right
line.
there. How close it was.
Kyle Busch, also a Las Vegas native. Kevin Harvick in the 33 car. We'll be right back. Thursday on Bull Run, as the teams head to Colorado, Team Evo is accused of cheating. What? And a would-be shortcut nearly eliminates Team Avalanche, while the Lexus girls do not hesitate to throw a very unpopular team into the challenge round. Pick your team. It's an all-new Bull Run Thursday at 10 Eastern here on Speed. And you heard Matt down in the garage talking about wind, roughly 20 miles an hour here. You see the flag, and there is quite a bit of wind here at this racetrack.
Well, you see these cars getting back on the track right now. You see the wind. Combination of a slick racetrack and a little bit of wind, that can make it a little bit tricky if you got a loose race car here at Las Vegas.
You can, and you can feel that wind. That's enough to really make an effect going down the front straightaway. Going into turn 1, you have a pretty good tailwind. Then you hit a headwind going down that back straightaway. So it will, that's enough breeze where you can feel it inside the car.
What does it feel like, Hermie? How does it affect the handling?
Well, you can actually come off the corner, and the wind's pushing going in the back straightaway. It'll actually feel like you dragging the brake a little bit. I mean, it'll affect the way you get in the corners and how far you can drive it down.
Is it similar to like having a big tractor trailer rig kind of pass you feel it kind of?
Oh yeah,
I mean that's
no
the
question,
thing right
no
now.
question about it.
Well, we're still under caution, about to get back to full speed, and the flagman does pull the caution flag back in, so we'll go to Dick Berggren.
And I'm with Mike Bliss, who so far this year has had a very fast race car. Last weekend at the California Speedway, he qualified 4th, won happy hour, and was in contention to win until, boom, a tire let go. But things seem to be going pretty well for you.
Yeah, it was, we've been running good, and our cars are a lot better than last year. And, we're hoping that we just get better. We're all the same guys, or the same cars and everything. We just improved here and there a little bit everywhere.
How about for this weekend? What have you got for him?
Well, this is the same car we ran last week. I'm hoping it's better. I want to run better. I want to win a race, and so do these guys. So we thought we'd bring the same car back that we worked with last week, since we had no testing or anything all winter. So we're just going to wait for this racetrack to kind of put a little rubber down and then go at it.
Sounds like a smart strategy. Run the same car week after week. You know what you got.
All right, Dick, back underway here for NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. Pole speed here is over 181 miles per hour, at least it was a year ago. That equates to 29.718 seconds, and that's set by Brian Vickers. That is the track record.
That's a lot of speed, especially Jeff corner speeds, because these cars obviously don't have all the straightaway speed, but when you because of the tapered spacer, not quite as much horsepower, but these guys are really digging. These cars are going through the center of the corner faster than the Sprint Cup cars.
See Kevin Harvick in the 33 car. Jeff, he won here in 2004.
Yeah, again, he's back in his own ride. Got a chance to talk to Ernie Cope, and he's one of the guys that they were going to run about 4 or 5 laps here in this first practice session, come in, let the tires cool down, go back out and see whether or not they needed to scuff tires like he did here a year ago to try to get a hook up to this racetrack. The way the tires were, they were a little bit harder than normal, so they wanted to have to kind of work them in a little bit to see how quick they'd get. But so far, as far as lap times are concerned, you know, Kevin's like 8th quickest, but the fastest cat right now, and I was watching him a minute ago, was a 16 car of Greg Biffle, and Greg almost got a little piece of the wall off of turn 4. He's passing a lap car and trying to get around some traffic. Just about kissed the outside safer barrier with it.
The Biff won a Truck Series race here back in 1999. Was second here 1 year ago. He's finished second in 2 Nationwide Series races and was third here in the Sprint Cup Series race 1 year ago.
I think this is one of those racetracks we talk about how fast the corner speeds are that kind of like play into somebody's hands like a Kyle Busch, a Greg Biffle, a Carl Edwards. You know, guys that don't mind hustling through the corner and don't mind running on that ragged edge. I think they're the ones that's going to kind of like step up, you know, above everybody else.
Kevin Harvick down on the apron. He's headed to the garage. Hermie, listening to Kevin Harvick, I'm curious for your take. How much do the drivers lift here?
Not very much at all. We're going to take a look right here at Greg Biffle coming off turn 4 right here.
This is what I was talking about. He came up off of turn 4. He got out there, and you see right there how close, how close he was to that wall.
Yeah. And I didn't hear that throttle break at all.
Well, he's not a throttle breaker.
No, he's not.
But look, you know, the question, how much throttle do you actually use here? And the answer is a whole lot. This racetrack has a lot of grip. A lot of guys, Steve, especially during qualifying and first part of a run, may not even come all the way out of the gas. They come in out about half, 3/4 throttle and trail braking. What happens when you come all the way out of the throttle, and Jeff can talk more about this, when you go in the corner, get all the way out of the throttle, that rear end unlocks and can give you a loose feeling. But if you can keep your foot in the gas just a little bit and maybe tap that brake, it keeps that rear end housing locked up. A lot more security, Jeff.
A lot more security for that reason. Also, when you load the chassis and get everything kind of loaded up, Steve, when you do come out of throttle, sometimes things have a tendency to unload, like the sway bar, the shocks try to come up a little bit. The car has a tendency to try to look for a different attitude. If you can keep all that stuff kind of compressed in the racetrack, the better it's going to be.
You just saw Mike Lynette. He finished 16th at the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana. Meanwhile, Carl Edwards heads out onto the racetrack. And let's go to Dick Bergen real quick.
Yeah, Greg Biffle has just brought his car into the garage area. I am with him. Greg, what happened out there?
Well, I was catching a lap car really fast coming off turn 4, and they had so much speedy dry down. I totally lost. I couldn't see anything just all at once coming off of turn 4 behind that guy, and just lost where I was at on the racetrack. Didn't, you know, the car wasn't pushing or anything. Just got kind of caught me off guard. You know how close the fence was. I couldn't see anything behind that lap car with all that speedy drive, but that's what happens. At least it's not hurt.
Yeah, we've got a little damage to the right rear corner. The exhaust system is a little bit bent up, but it doesn't look like anything really bad, and the Biff will be back out there again, and he'll be fast.
He's just ready to go race now. That car just got a little bit of a...
He knows where the edge is now. He knows where the limit is. He just kind of kissed it.
He makes it practice exciting for us. Last week he spins in practice.
He spins in practice.
Bumps the wall. I mean, that goes to show you he goes hard every lap.
Yeah. Every lap.
We'll take a break here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Stephen Wallace in the 66 is now quickest. Glad you're with us here on Speed. Just as we went to commercial, Carl Edwards jumped to the top of the timing and scoring leaderboard ahead of Stephen Wallace. 30.85 for Carl Edwards. Matt has an update on Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick sits patiently in the cockpit of the 33 machine, multitasking, already debriefed with Ernie Cope, and then his Sprint Cup crew chief, Todd Barrier, poked his head in the window. They talked briefly. Harvick says the car very comfortable, a tick on the tight side. They're going to free him up for the next run, but Harvick very pleased so far. And like a lot of teams coming from Fontana, they came directly to Las Vegas. This is the same race car that Harvick almost won his first nationwide race in under his own KHI banner. Finished second last week. They brought it here. They changed the setup, worked on the motor just slightly, and also changed all the decals. They rewrapped this race car. Although it had Rheem colors last week, they changed the paint scheme just slightly for a little bit different portion of the Rheem brand. But this car, Harvick very comfortable and pleased with so far in practice.
Yeah, and on top of that, you talk about Todd Berry being there, Ernie Cope, which is the crew chief on this thing, Bill Wilburn, who is one of the Camping World Truck Series crew chiefs. He's out here this week to try to learn and listen what these guys are talking about, because of one reason. There's a picture right there of Bill watching what's going on, because Kevin's going to be driving the truck he works on that Ricky Carmichael normally drives. So, I mean, a lot of these guys, everybody's trying to learn and trying to figure out how to make it easier for Kevin when he makes the transition into the truck series, you know, from either with a Sprint Cup, Nationwide, it doesn't matter. The crew chiefs want to know how to make him happy.
And they can learn a lot about the tires and certainly a lot about the characteristics of the racetrack. But a lot of talk about, Jeff, when the new car will be phased into the Nationwide Series. But that's one reason I hope that takes a while, or it doesn't happen for a while, because to me, I think having different cars really gives this series a little bit more identity. I understand the safety aspect of it, but to me, it's a little bit unfair to be able to transfer a lot of information from this over to the Cup side. So hopefully they can still have some identity between the two divisions and the truck series.
I agree with you on that right there, Hermie. I think that, you know, if we can keep it, because it's clear that when you come from a truck to a car, that there's day and night.
Right.
And, you know, you'd like to be able to have all three of these series maintain their own identities. And I know that in talking to Mike Helton, you know, he really feels like the truck should be the easiest to drive. That's where they want the younger drivers to come into. And they move the Nationwide Series. They should be the next easiest truck or vehicle to drive. And the most difficult should be the Sprint Cup Series. And that's just, to me, is the way it needs to do. We're taking a look right now, riding along with Eric McClure out of Virginia.
And Jeff, while you were talking, Jeff Burton went from second up to second.
These guys are starting to figure this racetrack out, and speeds are definitely climbing. 175 miles an hour for Carl Edwards, who is the fastest.
And that's a good point you bring up, Jeff. I mean, the new Sprint Cup car, these drivers are starting to learn, is not an easy car to drive.
You got to earn your money.
You got to earn your money there. I mean, every lap, I mean, you're just on top of the racetrack sliding around. But that's what NASCAR wants with that car. With this car, it's a little bit more competitive as far as, I wouldn't say easier to drive, but a little more downforce.
Right now, still riding along with Eric McClure about earning your money. I was talking the other day with people on his organization. He does a lot of work during the weekend for Hefty. A lot of personal appearances right there. It's great to see him have a great interaction with his sponsor.
We're going to follow Kevin Harvick on the racetrack. We talked about how much is a driver on and off the accelerator. We're going to watch and listen to Kevin Harvick take a couple laps around this racetrack, and you can see firsthand just how much the driver is in the accelerator on this racetrack.
Well, as Hermie mentioned, this track opened, had just 12 degrees of banking in the corners back in 1997. As Jeff mentioned, now progressive banking, it's up to 20 degrees.
Listen to Kevin, he's getting up to speed, coming up through the gears.
See, he never really gets off the throttle right there, getting up to speed, like coming off turn 4 right here. Let's listen to him, Steve, as he heads into turn 1. There, 20 degrees of banking. Not going to be off the throttle very much. Let's listen. Before he gets back in center of the corner, Jeff, he's back to the back to the floor on that throttle.
Well, he's rolling back into throttle. He may not be wide open, but he's not, like you say, off it very long. Right here again.
Not even all the way out of it.
He just breezes it. And he may be, you know, the way the thing is sounding right there going into 3, he may even be trail braking a little bit. This changes the tune of the motor, and all he's doing is dragging the brake getting there, Steve, and he may not really coming out of the throttle very much at all.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's
not. That's what you got to learn on these high-speed racetracks. You don't want to be all the way on the floor and then come out of the gas all at one time. It's a jolt to the car.
And just so you know, guys, that lap we just rode around with Kevin Harvick put him the fastest in this practice session at over 175 miles an hour.
But that's a good indicator right there. I mean, he eased out of the throttle, half, three-quarter, tap the brake, get the car set, and all the way back down with it.
175.587 miles per hour for Kevin Harvick, a man who's won 32 races in this series. NASCAR Nationwide Series practice continues almost 40 minutes in to a 1-hour, 20-minute practice. Kyle Busch is up to second quick. Dick Berggren has an update on him.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. He had come in just a few moments ago complaining that the car was trying to step out on him in the middle of the turns, particularly 3 and 4. The mechanics jumped underneath that race car and made some adjustments, and that is what it took to get that car to be incredibly fast. Kyle Busch learned how to race right here in Las Vegas. He is a Las Vegas native, and across the street there's a little paved racetrack that they call the Bull Ring, and that's where he and his brother learned the sport and learned what it took to win races. But Kyle Busch has never won here in the big league at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This may well be the weekend after we saw what he did last weekend, leading all but 7 laps and winning the nationwide race. He may well be in Victor Lane this weekend too.
And Dick, you take a look at the numbers for the Busch brothers. You said they were local. They went to Durango High School, just 22 miles from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
And I got to race go-karts with both of those guys last night in Kurt Busch's the Kurt Busch Foundation event at Pole Position Raceway indoor karting facility.
How'd you do?
I want y'all to know that I got black flagged for allegedly making contact with another competitor that did not happen. The guy overdrove the corner, locked the brakes up, and spun out, and I got black flagged for not hitting the guy.
That's very controversial.
It is controversial, but a great event last night. The Kurt Busch Foundation, he is donating money to the Victory Junction Game Camp. They're building an indoor baseball facility. A great turnout last night.
They already donated at Bowling Alley to Victory Junction.
But Denny Hamlin, Kurt and Kyle Busch, David Stremme, a lot of guys on hand last night, so it was a fun event.
We had a chance a moment ago to look at Jason Ratcliffe, who's the crew chief on the 18 car. And Hermie, all I got to say about the situation, you being black flag, your reputation precedes
He won't be invited back.
No, what happened was Jimmy Spencer was invited to attend the event. He was supposed to be there. They thought it was Jimmy Spencer making contact.
Well, then you need to learn how to choose who you replace better.
How do I do that?
Don't show up.
It was fun though, man. It was, if you're in town, Pole Position Raceway is a fun place to run karts. We had a great time.
Jimmy Johnson actually donated the bowling alley to Victory Junction Game Camp, and Kurt Busch donated it the indoor, they call it the Astrodome.
And can I put a promo in for race day?
Yeah, yes.
Because we will have a feature on the event last night coming up on race day this Sunday.
This Sunday.
This Sunday.
Jason Keller, 6th overall, the veteran here in Nationwide Series practice. Join thousands of other fans online during the race. Fire off your questions, comments, or talk smack. SpeedTV.com editors and NASCAR insiders will join to fill you in on what's really going on. Go to SpeedTV.com and look for the chat link, NASCAR on Speed. Be there. Blustery day here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Saw the speed flag at full staff.
Blustery.
Blustery.
Okay.
You and your vocabulary.
Oh, come on, Hermie.
He likes in 50-cent words.
Tell you what.
It's not a 50-cent word.
What is it, 35?
About a quarter.
You couldn't say something really, elementary, like the wind is really blowing hard here.
How about gusty?
Gusty is better.
Okay.
I understand that word. Hey, something I'm looking here, Jeff, that
the steering wheel about bounced out of my hands. It hit, bounced 10 times worse than the previous run. No need to keep making laps.
Sounds like to me like they got something a little bit askew on the number 6
or
car.
maybe too much shock absorber on it. But Jeff, looking at the monitor, something that is a good indicator of what we may see tomorrow as far as the great racing on this racetrack. The guys up front, their fastest lap is coming in their 9th, 10th, 11th lap on the racetrack, which usually means the more they run, the more grip they have, which, usually speaks well for the kind of racing we're going to have on the racetrack.
Yeah, and again, that's what I think a lot of these teams right now are trying to figure out, what do we need on our laps for qualifying? What do we need on our tires as far as, even in the race, do you want to put brand new tires on? If they don't have good grip, you can't go around and basically run around half throttle for 10 laps before they come in. You want to get them kind of like seasoned. So I look for a lot of these teams, if they're seeing this, to put some laps on the tires.
We saw Jason Keller a minute ago. He's 7th overall. That's Jason Leffler in the 38 car. He is currently 17th. In case you hear jets in the background, of course, Nellis Air Force Base right next door.
Home of the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds. Brad Keselowski thought he had his first Nationwide Series win here 1 year ago with 4 laps to go. You heard Carl Edwards reference the fact that a little contact, and well, Brad didn't win the race.
Neither did Carl.
Neither did Carl.
Oh, by the way, a guy named Mark Martin did win the race.
Mark Martin did.
I think he triggered that just a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, Mark got in the back of...
like Hermie Sadler at the go-kart race. Very controversial.
It was very controversial. But Mark actually made contact. So he got what he, you know.
And since you're speaking of controversy, and we're looking here at the 88 of Keselowski, the Klondike Bar Special, which I tried to get him to bring us a Klondike Bar guy, you know, a little earlier, was the deal of a little controversy last week in California between him and Greg Biffle. And the way I heard through the grapevine in the garage area, there's still a little bit of animosity. Yeah, kind of hanging out there.
Animosity.
Big word, Hammond, right there.
Yeah. Just trying to keep up with my leader.
See Dale Earnhardt Jr. Extended stay in the garage, Steve, getting all that oil cleaned up underneath the bottom of that race car. But 47 minutes in, he is coming back on the racetrack, it appears.
And his troubles...
Trying to get the steering wheel probably squared away now.
His troubles happened on lap 1. So, yeah, as you said, Hermie, 47 minutes later, Dale Jr. headed back out in that 5 car.
And it was really worrying you. I knew that.
It really was. But I tell you, even though they think they got the problem solved, they still, I know Scott Maxim and these guys want him to get some laps on this racetrack with that engine to make sure that there's no problems.
Jason Leffler has just jumped to the top of timing and scoring. He has bumped Kevin Harvick to second quick.
They keep stepping it up, Steve. We're up to over 176 miles an hour. You know, like you say, 47 minutes into the practice, the track is heating up. So you got to believe right now they're finally starting to lay some rubber down, starting to figure this racetrack out. The adjustments necessary.
Got the 99 following you out of pit road here.
It's a spotter. High atop the grandstands here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. There's your fastest cat right now. 38 car, Jason Leffler.
He ran a 30.64, as Jeff said. That's 176. He's the only driver over 176 miles an hour, 176.229.
He's getting his tires checked. Goodyear come in. When you come in, you pull up to the Goodyear engineer, give you a tire sheet, checks the temperature and the wear of those tires, and that's a good tuning tool at all these racetracks.
So it's Jason Leffler, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Stephen Wallace, and Mike Bliss. You take a look at the entire top 10 here in Vegas. After missing a win in Daytona, Kyle Busch dominated in Fontana. March 7th, Kyle Busch and the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series head to Atlanta, where things always get rowdy. NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, that is, racing the way it ought to be. That's March 7th. Here on Speed. We're on board with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Hermie. Jeff, he's getting things squared away. He is already up to 6th fastest.
Yeah, it didn't take him very long once he got back out on the racetrack to figure this racetrack out. And again, I think it bodes well that they did make the effective repairs, and he's ready to race.
That just goes to show you more than one way to skin a cat, as you can tell. If you listen right here, Jeff, he got all the way out of the throttle, got back in it quicker, but came all the way out and got back in. A little bit different driving style than Kevin Harvick.
We were talking about the win last year. Mark Martin gave JR Motorsports its first win in the 5-car 1 year ago. Scott Speed headed to the garage.
And guys, this is his first attempt right now to run a nationwide race. He's looking pretty sporty right now, early out, but driving for Michael Waltrip Racing in that Red Bull Special this weekend.
Let's go back to Dick in the garage.
And I'm with Jason Keller, the most experienced driver in this series. It looks like you got a fast car. What do you got to do today to make it faster?
Well, just get a little bit more comfortable. This place is pretty rough in 1 and 2, so we got Scott Brand Tissue on board, which first time this year we've had those guys on board. So I don't know, got a little bit more, get a little bit more nerve. I think they 1 and 2 will be just fine.
All right, good for you. And behind us, Greg Biffle is getting ready to go back out again. Matt.
Dick, Brad Keselowski's co-car owner, jumped up a very impressive time early on, rebounding from their oil issue. Brad's car, he's very pleased. The car a tick on the tight side, though, on exit from both turn 2 and turn 4. They made some small changes. He was 12th on the board after just 8 laps.
All right, thank you, Matt. On board with Brad Keselowski.
Doesn't matter whose car we get inside, Jeff Hammond. These guys you can just tell the corner speed, a lot of G-forces and a good secure feeling, talking about being a little bit tight. You can go fast here if you're a little bit snug, Jeff. You get loose at a place like this, it's really hard to keep your foot in the throttle.
No, that really is. We've already heard that, you know, from the 18 car of Kyle Busch, last week's winner, who's a teammate this week to the 20 car being driven by Denny Hamlin. He wasn't happy with his car stepping out. They tightened it up, and automatically it jumped him up to like third quickest. So you can't be loose here to be fast for sure.
Hermie, last week at California, of course, different track, 2-mile speedway, big sweeping turns. I heard drivers, specifically Greg Biffle, talking about how different 1 and 2 were from 3 and 4. How about here at Vegas on the 1.5 miles?
It's a lot more similar. Obviously, you have a tri-oval on the front straightaway, but the corners, as far as the way the banking is and the way you enter them, very, very similar from one end to the other. But California, 1 and 2, a long sweeping corner. 3 and 4, a little bit tighter of a corner with a lot more room off the corner. But as far as the corners, the way you enter them and through the center of the corner, very similar here at Vegas, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And one thing they got in common is they're both very fast.
Yes, they are. You just saw Denny Hamlin 6th overall. Jason Leffler still the quickest in this first of 2 NASCAR Nationwide Series practices on this Friday from Las Vegas. Third race of this 2009 season here tomorrow at Las Vegas. Kyle Busch with the early points lead, although not sure. Is he going to run for the championship?
Said he was. Oh, yeah.
All right. Las Vegas native Kyle Busch up to speed.
Got a fast race car as usual. And
start getting the gas tighter. I'm getting up off. That's the product of the tires, the product of the fuel burning off. Just like what we saw here last year, just like what we always see at Charlotte.
That's some really good feedback right there from a driver right there, remembering all the way back to Charlotte a year ago and trying to give information back to his crew chief so they can make their necessary adjustments. Now, a moment ago, even though he's not exactly happy with that race car, he was fast enough to jump up to second quickest. But, oh, by the way, this man right here, Greg Biffle, has now displaced the 38 of Jason Leffler and kicked Kyle Busch back to third once again, because he's now 176.551 miles an hour down around this racetrack at a 30.58. So he is new cat at the top of the heap.
Greg has finished second twice here in Nationwide Series competition, but at 5 Sprint Cup Series starts, looking for his first win. His only win here coming in the Camping World Truck Series.
And getting back to what Kyle Busch was saying, Jeff, a product of the fuel burning off. These cars, the more fuel you burn off, the more nose weight it puts on the car, and that wheel, one of the things that can tighten the car up or get the nose to quit turning during the course of a run.
Yeah.
And that's good information for adjustments on race day.
Trying to get that right balance, so you have to, you'll be not happy in the beginning, but as you go further in the run, the car gets a little more comfortable. Here's Casey Atwood in the 05 car. Currently, he's 25th quickest.
Casey has 2 Nationwide Series win, the first one coming at Milwaukee back in 1999. Let's go back to the garage and Dick Berggren.
And I can follow up. His crew, he has brought the car into the garage to their attention, and they have a pre-planned procedure for right now. They're not saying on the radio exactly what they are going to do, but it's pre-planned. We're going to make some changes in the car, go back out one more time in this practice session.
Being a little sneaky, I'd say. They know what they're doing, but they don't want nobody else to know.
I'd say just keep doing whatever they've been doing.
Oh, yeah.
Until somebody beats them, which nobody's come close to doing that yet on a consistent basis. And that's why they're so good. We've seen guys through the course of some of these races to be able to, you know, maybe for one run during the course of a race or for half of a race been up to compete with them, but they are strong from start to finish every week. And they put a lot of pressure, Steve, on the other competitors, making them try to do things maybe they wouldn't normally do to try to be competitive with them.
Take a look at Tony Raines trying to find some more speed. He's in the 34, the 66, of course, driven by Stephen Wallace, and on pit road with Mike Bliss.
Yeah, speaking of guys who've been able to find some pretty fast laps out here, as well as last week at California, Mike Bliss, once again, he is now second fastest. jumps up there to 30.69. Again, another 176-mile-an-hour lap.
And he made a comment that his guys have been working overtime this week, had a tire blowout last week with that race car, took that car back, rebuilt it, brought the same car back, and that's what they'll do for your driver sometimes when they know that they've got a car that he really likes. They'll bring it back for you.
Well, Mike told me when I was talking this morning in the garage area that one of the things they've done different this year at that team is they found some cars that they liked from last year, and they've tried to duplicate it. They got like 4 cars now that are very, very similar. Mike said that they've made a few minor adjustment personnel, and all of it's starting to really pay off for him. So he's pretty excited about what's going on. And even though they're not quite where they need to be with some of the big multi-car teams that are connected with Sprint Cup, he feels like they're very, very close of getting this team where we talked about last week that can win.
Of the independent single car nationwide series regulars, they're on par with anybody in the garage.
We just saw former series champion David Green, and now we're taking a look at Las Vegas native Brendan Gaughan in the 62 15th overall.
But not great. I still get just lose a little bit of grip in the center and exit of both quarters. That helps him cut back just a little bit.
He's talking about losing grip in the center off. Same thing that Kyle Busch was talking about. Losing the nose. The car is too tight from the center off. And we talked about needing to be tight, Jeff, but if you're too tight with the limited amount of horsepower with these nationwide cars, that can really slow you down if you're losing grip off the corners.
Yeah. Let's go to Matt.
Jeff Burton just climbed from the cockpit of the 29. Now they're talking about getting a good baseline here, then going back to what they had under this race car before. The recent change they made in the front suspension, Burton's has actually hurt the car, so they're going to talk about what area they really want to progress more in. Also interesting, in the conversation in the back is Stephen Light, who will be back in this RCR Chevy when the series goes to Nashville, the race after Bristol. He's here, headset on, just listen to the conversation back and forth between the crew, Dan Deeringhoff, Burton, just picking up the tone and just learning as much as he can. In fact, he's got a little pad making notes during this practice session for his start coming up in about a month.
Well, on-the-job training right there for that young man. Well, that's what you need to do. And here's a guy that got a little different look this week with a different sponsor on the car. Stanton Barrett, 21st quickest here, the 31 car.
Greg Biffle still the quickest, and he's followed by Mike Bliss, Jason Leffler, Kyle Busch, and Kevin Harvick. 1 hour and 2 minutes into this practice. Got about 15 minutes left in this NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. Greg Biffle still the fastest. Take a look at the top 10 quickest. 176.869 is the equivalent to 30.53 laid down by Greg Biffle.
I don't think the track record's going to be any kind of jeopardy right now, but so far, everybody just seems like you get faster and faster and faster each and every lap. And I think everybody's been on the racetrack so far, Steve, except for the 90 car.
We're looking at Brian Keselowski right now. Johnny Chapman drives the 90, and we go back to Matt.
Steve catching up with Jason Leffler. So how is the car during this practice session, Jason?
It's really good. Solid right off the trailer. The guys on the Great Clips Camry are doing a great job. We're done for now. We're just going to save our tires for happy hour, and track obviously will be different, and we'll have to make some changes there. But all in all, it's a good start to the weekend for sure.
A year of age on this pavement, you notice a big change from last year to this year?
Well, I have, but Goodyear brought a different tire, and it's really good. It hooks up right away, where the last 2 years it's been pretty sketchy on the first couple laps. So they did a good job. Kudos to them, and I think you'll see a good race. It's going to get wide, as the track cleans off. And especially with these nationwide cars, they'll be 2 and 3 wide around the top.
All right, thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Getting ready for the final practice session coming up a little later today on Speed. Mini Me currently third. Nick?
24-year-old Michael McDowell surely has earned a reputation as one of NASCAR's most spectacular drivers. End over end, side over side in a qualifying run last year in Texas. And last weekend at the Auto Club Speedway in California, an oil line ruptured and a huge fire. But Michael McDowell escaped from both without injury. This week on Wednesday, his wife delivered Tracy, their first child. And getting back to today, the car is bouncing off the racetrack, so the mechanics are working on it and trying to make sure that only the tires hit the speedway. He's been fast. He's been in the top 20 all of this practice session.
Well, Dick, the baby was 7 pounds, 7 ounces, and was born at 7 o'clock.
A lot of number sevens right there.
It's good if you're coming to Vegas.
Well, not necessarily. You don't want to be rolling sevens at the crap table.
Hermie, I was looking at the, by the way, congratulations to Michael and his wife, Jamie, rather. The track record set a year ago, 181.708 miles per hour. And right now, Greg Biffle, the quickest at 176.869. Why the big difference?
Well, I think when it comes time to qualifying in the morning, maybe a little bit cooler, they'll pick it up some. But this racetrack has been sitting for a whole year. I mean, last year the pavement was brand new. And when you have a brand new racetrack, you got maximum grip. So they just lost a little bit of grip. And if you're off the accelerator or not quite as much corner speed, you're going to lose just a little bit of that grip and therefore a little bit of speed, Jeff.
Well, let's also not forget that when it gets hot here in Las Vegas, it gets real hot. We're talking about 114, 115 degree temperature. That will age a racetrack real quick, because when it's hot in the summer and even during the winters, you don't think about Las Vegas being that cold, but they do get below freezing here during the winter months. So when you get that kind of extreme changes, a lot of times it accelerates the age of a racetrack.
And last year, the track new pavement was black. I mean, you could tell it was brand new. Now it's already started to get a little bit gray, and you can see it starting to age, which the speeds will be a little bit slower, a little bit, Steve, but the racing will be a lot better because an aging racetrack and not as much corner speed as we've had in the past or last year will give these guys more opportunity to run side by side.
Exactly.
Just saw Ken Butler III finish 20th at the Auto Club Speedway, one of 13 drivers attempting to make their first Vegas start. Back at the Las Vegas, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Jeff Hammond, Hermie Sadler, Steve Burns, Matt Yoakum, and Dick Bergeron down in the garage area. We talk a lot about fast laps, but we just took a look at 5-lap averages, and now getting a report that Jason Keller, the veteran, may have brushed the wall.
He was talking about needing to get a little more nerve in 1 and 2, and that's where he's going. Let's see if he coming through the trial, the start-finish line. Let's listen. Like he was trying to go to get his arc to get down in turn 1, Jeff, and got real close to it. I'm not sure he made contact.
I don't think he did. I mean, based off of what I saw there, he's still 7th quickest. I mean, good last lap time down there. I mean, it was his fastest, so I don't think he hurt that 27 car at all. And I think he found out something about how much nerve he does have.
Brian Vickers aboard the 32 car. Vickers has a good start to the season, was 8th at Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, 6th at Daytona in the season opening race. One hour, 12 minutes into what's scheduled for an hour and 20-minute practice. And just hearing from Dick Bergeron, no damage to the 27 car of Jason Keller.
And what he was doing there, Steve, I mean, going in turn 1, you go through the trial oval, you need to get as wide as you possibly can before you make your entrance to turn 1 to get that late arc, so you don't have to turn the wheel more than one time. Kind of straighten that corner out as much as you can, Jeff.
Yeah, you want to get the car to the bottom of the racetrack as fast as possible so that you've got the best exit line down the back straightaway. Again, that's where you're going to make up a lot of speed. Not so much driving in it real deep, but being able to get that car to come off the corner wide open and without a lot of resistance as far as scrubbing speed off down that corner.
Saw Brian Vickers. He sat on the pole here 1 year ago, but finished 36th. Let's go back to the garage and Dick Bergeron.
And right now in the garage, the story is car number 16, Greg Biffle. He's only run 7 laps. In one of those laps, he went faster than anybody else has gone in this practice session. In another, he went blind. All the speedy dry that was on the racetrack, Biff couldn't see where he was going, ran it into the fence. Mechanics now working underneath the car. They had to change some crush panels. The entire exhaust system is out from this car as well, and they are changing that. What an eventful practice session for Greg Biffle.
No problem for him. Remember last week when he spun that car around, he just kind of called in the crew, said, hey guys, seemed to be a little bit better.
Yeah, remember he spun around? That's better.
He got it better, but this is a Greg Biffle kind of racetrack. He loves to go fast.
He loves to go fast.
He will be a factor tomorrow.
Another look at Scott Speed in the 99. And as Jeff Hammond mentioned, that is a Michael Waltrip-owned car. Jerry Baxter is the crew chief.
Seems like I say, he's adapting this racetrack quite well. His first time out.
24th overall for Scott Speed, who's making the transition from open wheel cars.
Scott, like a lot of other guys, really hugging that outside safer barrier as he goes down the back straightaway, off into these corners, right to the bottom, right trying to hug that white line.
You know, one thing we haven't mentioned yet here at Las Vegas is we talked about all the success the Roush Fenway drivers and teams had at the Auto Club Speedway, but how about 13 wins for Roush Fenway here? DJ Kennington in the 81. Now he does make contact.
He does make contact, gets up in that speedy drive, late exit, brushes it just slightly. I don't think there's any severe damage, but he did leave a little bit of that quarter pound of paint on the outside wall.
Closing moments of NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. On board with Dale Earnhardt Jr. His practice started on lap 1 with an oil line problem, but he is back up to speed and listed 12th overall.
Coming off turn 4, you start finish line. Let's listen to Dale Earnhardt Jr. as he gets down into turn 1. How quickly he picks the throttle back up, Steve. Hit those bumps, Jeff, and slid up the racetrack that time.
Yeah.
Like he's coming in. Yeah,
he's coming in.
We talked about Greg Biffle being the quickest as we went to break, but guess what? The Las Vegas kid, Brendan Gaughan, now atop the timing and scoring monitor.
It's not as good as it was. Quite a bit tighter.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. They made some changes, Jeff, and tightened that car up. But Brendan Gaughan, fastest in the session so far, did it on lap 26, Jeff.
Well, I bet you he went in and probably made an adjustment, probably put some different tires on there, but 177, almost 177 and a half miles an hour right there as far as going 30.42. So local boy does well. He said he liked these racetracks, and so far he has proven it. And I'm sure that Rusty Wallace, who is owner of that part on that race car, is going to be real happy with that effort. Brendan right now, he's 8th quickest. You looking there yet, Kyle?
Yep. Debriefing, talking about his race car. This practice is nearly over. Following this practice, we'll send you back to John Roberts on the speed stage for NASCAR Live, then Sprint Cup Series practice from this 1.5 mile Las Vegas Motor Speedway. John West Townley in the 09 car. He's run a total of 30 laps, which looks to be more than anybody else. Just 19 years old out of Georgia, needs the practice.
Jeff's been talking about scuffing tires and guys in and out. I think tires, not only for the Nationwide Series, but also the Sprint Cup Series with that new car, extra right side. Well, it's going to be something we're going to have to follow through the course of the weekend of how those tires hold up, especially the right sides on these kind of speeds, Jeff.
Yeah, you're exactly right. As we watch this right here, you know, end of practice coming up, and we're right now looking at the 40 car.
Scott Wimmer, former winner in this series, aboard that car, and Kevin Harvick in the 33 car now second quick. So Brendan Gaughan and Kevin Harvick ahead of Greg Biffle.
Everybody's making these last minute runs here. Like you say, practice is running down. It's time to find out what you've got so you can figure out what you need to do for the happy hour that's coming up later on this afternoon. And I agree with something that was said from the garage area earlier. I mean, which one of the drivers was talking about it. Racetrack's going to change a lot more because once the Sprint Cup guys go out, track's going to heat up some more. They're going to put some more rubber down. So when you come back in that final practice, you're going to probably see a much different racetrack than what you've got right now, Steve. See, they're all lined up. Ryan Newman.
There's a Sadler.
Yep, I saw Hermie's brother, Elliott.
Strapped into the Stanley car.
Black and red flags displayed, showing the end of this practice. Let's go back to Dick Berggren.
With Brendan Gaughan, the fastest man in Las Vegas. What's the wind like out there?
Wind's getting us out of 2 pretty good, but qualifying trim, this thing's a rocket ship. We're missing about 1/10, maybe 2/10 in race trim.
All right, they'll adjust it. They'll give it to you, guaranteed.
All right, thank you, Dick, and a good look at the wind. As we said, gusting over, right at or over 20 miles per hour.
Don't seem to bother him.
Nope.
2 Chevrolets up top, Steve.
Couple of Fords, Biffle and Edwards, as we said. 13 wins for Roush Fenway Racing here, 6 in the Cup Series, 4 in the Nationwide Series, and 3 in the trucks, and that has come with 7 different drivers.
Unbelievable. We talked everywhere we go with these first 2 racetracks, California and Vegas, you got to go through Roush Fenway to get to victory lane.
Exactly right. I don't think it's going to be any different this weekend. So it should be a great battle starting to shape up here between those guys at Roush Fenway. And don't forget Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch, 7th overall. You think that 20-mile-an-hour wind hurts those guys?
No.
No problem, guys.
But these guys have got a couple hours there, Steve, to make some changes to these cars. Again, not a lot of testing's been going on, so a good opportunity to have a debriefing session, make some changes, get ready for that final practice in advance of qualifying tomorrow.
Well, as Jeff Hammond said, Sprint Cup Series practice coming up in just a few minutes. We will go to the speed stage. John Roberts and the guys down in the garage will keep you up to date between practices. Stay with us.